Guys, what's going on? Zach here, ZachEvanish.com, UndergroundStrengthCoach.com. Missed a question during my last live Q&A, so Michael sent me this question through the Instagram. Two-part question. He said, number one, how do you motivate your athletes outside of the gym to have continuity for them to come back to the gym and basically make progress, maximize their progress? And then number two, he said, how are you dealing with the connection of the coaches that your athletes have at school? So let's tackle this in two parts. So number one, we do a couple things to try to build continuity with those athletes. So I send out pretty frequent newsletters through email to the parents of the athletes. That's number one. Number two, that myself and the other coaches on the regular ask the kids, what was your breakfast? What'd you eat for lunch? What do you have packed up waiting for you in the car? And then, of course, the newer kids, we ask them also the nutrition stuff, but we get them to do the calisthenics and parts of the warm-up at home. So simple things like doing 5 squats, push-ups, and lunges in the morning, then after school, then again at night. 15 reps a day comes out to 75 reps a week, comes out to 300 a month. They want to build up to, 10, 20, 30. I used to do that. I used to wake up and see how many push-ups I could max out at. And I remember seeing that on the movie Vision Quest. And those little things add up. But, you said it in your question, you can't out-train a bad diet and a bad lifestyle. So the other thing we do is myself, Travis Mash, and Johnny Wellborn, we put together a book called Good to Greatness. I posted it inside of the UndergroundStrengthCoach.com website, and the parents get that as an ebook. We ask them to print it out. We ask them to print out 2 copies. We should probably print that out for them, but many of them print it out, and it's really a what it takes to succeed type training manual. It's a really, cut through the BS. You say you want to do it, but are you going to do it? Well, here's the things you got to do. And it's a lot about the follow-through on nutrition, the extra workouts on your own, the hill sprints, the dedication to the sport, the technical aspect of the sport. Travis Mash talks about mastering the mundane. Do you do the recovery work? Do you get to bed at a specific time, or do you stay up late at night? So those things come into play, and we reach a lot of kids, but we also don't change the lives of a good number of kids for a couple of reasons. One of them is a lack of follow-through on nutrition, lack of consistency in their training. They're just not really that serious about getting strong and becoming great. So a lot of these things are, there's many pieces of the puzzle. That's what I always say. And if you just leave out 1, 2, or 3 pieces of the puzzle, and there's 10 pieces to the puzzle, well, now you're at a 70% or an 80%. So you're really just average. So one thing I've been learning a lot is that kids are going to become and grow up to be who they want to grow up. They might have great parents, but that kid might not want greatness. I just can't put my finger on it. I saw Jocko Willink respond to a tweet maybe a year ago, and somebody said, Jocko, will your son become a Navy SEAL? And Jocko said he will become whoever he wants to become. And that's the truth. I could tell my son and my daughter to do certain things, and eventually it only gets to a point where I'm only going to tell them to do it so much. And I even go back to when I was a health teacher. I told the kids, I said, I'm going to always teach you the pros and the cons, the good and the bad, but I'm not going to force you on what decisions to make with your health, with your lifestyle choices. Because if I do force it upon you, then you haven't learned decision-making skills. You haven't done anything through your own will. It was forced upon you. So there's nothing that there's no benefit. Now, with regards to the coaches, I've mentioned this many times. It is probably 1 in 100 coaches that want to work with us and really do something together. Even my friends who are watching probably, who are administrators and principals and supervisors, I've tried getting, them to, I have a relationship with them, and, there's a phys ed teacher in the school running the strength conditioning, and there's certainly some highly qualified phys ed highly qualified strength coaches who are phys ed teachers, but I have not seen or come across too many of them. And if you kind of, go by a high school, see what's going on outside for the phys ed class, you're probably not going to be that impressed. So what I've learned to do is just care about the kids and do as great as I can. I've learned to stop. I won't say I've learned. I know that I cannot force my values or my skill set and knowledge base upon others. If they want help, they will come and reach out. If people want to succeed, they will go on Google and find a way to do it. If I am the parent of an athlete and my child is not doing good in football or baseball or soccer or lacrosse, I'm going to Google, I live in Smithville, Alabama, Smithville, Alabama lacrosse training, Smithville, Alabama strength and conditioning. I'm going to look those things. And a lot of people are not going to do that. And that's the bottom line. So I think that's always the toughest thing with training athletes, is that we find ourselves very often, way too often, we want it more than their parents want it. We want it more than the kids want it. And not everybody wants to be a champion. Not everybody wants to be relentless. This book right here is such a, accurate description of people who are just satisfied with good. People who are, good when it's convenient, but when it's inconvenient, they don't want to be the leader. And then there's people who shut their mouth and they do the work and they let their work and their actions speak for them. They're not strong on Twitter, strong on Instagram, weak in the real world. And I think even that's something I try to do with my, with what we do, with what I do, is I try to really explain to coaches how much I struggle with you guys, that my gym is not always pumping and that things for me are not always easy. Now, just because somebody has a lot of followers on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, trust me, that does not mean their life is smooth and they've got no struggles. I think a lot of people try to conceal those struggles, but I think the real champion is he or she identifies the struggle and turns it into strength and makes moves. And I had this conversation with my friends today about things I'm doing just simply in my business, about, okay, you don't give up, but you must change. You must, as Joe DeSena says on the Spartan Up podcast, you have to pivot. You have to have a different plan of attack. If I keep taking the same path and getting the same result, and those results are not good, then things have to change. And change requires a level of discomfort, and that's something that I'm willing and ready to go through. So I hope that helps you out, my man. I think it was Michael that sent that question in. So, how do I inspire those kids outside of here? I try to do it with that Instagram as well, and just the real regular and a lot of communication with them, and also being, transparent with them and saying, listen, man, we might have a love-hate relationship. Like, you might hate me because I'm pushing you so far out of your comfort zone, but down the road, maybe we will gain respect for one another. And I tell the guys, I'm always biased towards those of you who are outworking people. If you're talking about it but not being about it, I don't really respect you, because your actions speak so loudly. I can't hear a word that you're saying. And then with regards to the coaches, it has been quite the battle reaching out to so many coaches for so many years. And even coaches with a losing record are just like, nah, we're good. Our phys ed teacher does it, or I do it, or we have it in the weight room. But what's cool is yesterday I got a message from a coach, football coach, and he said, man, I just can't deny everything you guys are doing. I love what you're doing. I want to get our guys involved. And I said, dude, that would be awesome. I go, and we wouldn't try to take them from you guys. I go, maybe they come to our gym once, twice a week, then they train at the high school weight room 2-3 times a week. Maybe in the beginning, myself or one of the coaches travels to your weight room for the first month, once a week, to really get the technique dialed in, to get guys acclimated. So there's a lot of ways we can work together, but I honestly believe that if a coach, doesn't want to be great, then they're not going to seek out a strength coach to work with. I always say this would be the equivalent of me, saying, hey guys, we're going to also play football. I'm going to teach you how to play football. The football coach in town would be like, dude, why are you teaching them how to play football? I'm the football coach. Exactly. Why are you trying to be a strength coach when you are not a strength coach? Being a strength and performance coach is a lot more complicated than sport coaches understand at all levels. There are so many injuries and movement issues that we are working on and correcting, and the constant assessing that they just cannot dial in. Where does your back need to be in position during this lift? Where do your feet go? What about your elbows? What kind of movement needs to be there? What about your head and neck position? Listen to the latest podcast with Matt Wenning. Very, very powerful. We speak about a lot of constant assessing and changing the lifts according to the weak areas. But anyway, guys, hope that helps you guys out. I got to get back to work. Doing another podcast today with Dr. Incledon. I did part 1. It's on iTunes and Stitcher. And today I'm going to make it an all meathead episode because last time was very scientific. Today we're going to be talking about heavy lifting, eating to get strong, injuries, and so forth. That's it, guys. I'm going to go outside, get some fresh air. Talk to you guys later. Much respect.